So welcome to Sports Done Right. I'm your host, Hunter Wright, and this is friend of mine, friend of the channel, former Florida Gator, Gideon Ajagbe.
What's going on, man? What's going on? Glad to be back on the channel with you, man.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about the Pro Football Hall of Fame and one of the members that was recently enshrined and your relationship with that member. But before we get on to pro football, there's a couple topics, college football topics I want to touch on. Mainly Billy Napier, man. He might be finding himself in some hot water. I think it's fair to say that the Florida State game, this is a must win for Billy.
Do you think he's already in hot water in his first year?
Well, I would like to say no. However, I do not represent the majority of the fan base and boosters and everyone that expects a certain level of success with a school that has the level of prestige that Florida does.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, can we at least see what the team looks like when he gets his recruits in? Because he hasn't even gotten a recruiting class in yet. He's working with a team from a coach in Dan Mullen who didn't recruit hardly. So
I think that's understandable. I think they know like this isn't his recruits.
yeah.
I think they know that
He's largely coaching another man's team at the moment.
He's coaching another man's team. He knows what kind of players work for his offense. I think those things are understood. They knew that they were going to have issues. I think he's okay. I think regardless of however it goes down, it'll be bad for us as fans, but I think he is going to be in a good spot moving forward. They'll at least give him another year. That's what I know.
Future looks bright. Now, I wouldn't say that he would get canned after this one season, but man, I work in a sports bar, and some of those paying customers, they are not as patient.
No, they're not. Not at all.
I hear it every week. People say, "Oh, man, he's got to go." I mean,
I think they know. I think they know. I think Strickland knows. I think it would be unwise for Strickland to can him after 1 year, in my opinion.
Now, I say the Florida State game's got to be a must-win because I'm looking past the Florida-Georgia game at the moment because, in all honesty, that's not a matchup. I don't think we match up well against the Bulldogs this year.
No, we do not. I agree with you there. We do not. I think
that's a game that if we lost, I'm not necessarily penning that on the head coach, but lost to Kentucky, Tennessee, LSU. You can't lose to Kentucky, Tennessee, LSU, Georgia, and Florida State all in the same year.
Yeah, but
lose all the bad blood games.
I'm going to be devil's advocate. Tennessee's arguably the number one team in the nation, in my opinion. I think Tennessee is going to destroy Georgia, or at least it'll be a game like the Alabama game. And I think
I'd like to see that.
I think they win. I think Tennessee is the best team in the nation right now. LSU, we shouldn't have lost. Kentucky, we should have lost, but Tennessee for sure. If that's a game to lose, and we almost came back and beat them. So
we did.
I think
it's always something with LSU. Something happens that shouldn't have happened at the last minute that ends up costing us the game. Like Shoegate with Marco Wilson. It's like it's always something just out of left field.
Yeah.
And Kentucky, I think that's one we should have won.
We should have won that.
Tennessee, we almost won.
We should have won that as well, but I understand that loss because they're actually a really good football team. Like they're really good. Period.
And people say, "Oh, if you hadn't gone for 2 here, then look, it's easy to say that when the game's over."
Yeah.
In the moment, in a dogfight, and you're trying to get as many points as possible, neither defense can stop the other team's offense. I get trying to get the points.
Yeah.
And Hendon Hooker.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
We thinking that boy's taking home the Heisman?
I think so. I think he's Heisman. I think he's having an incredible year. I think he's earned it. But hey, the season isn't over yet. But I think he's on track for it for sure.
Season's not over yet, but I think what put him over the top, the Alabama game. Oh man, I wish I wasn't working. Tell you what, I wasn't working. My eyes were glued to the TV.
I feel you. I feel you. Put it this way: if he does the same thing to Georgia, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. I think he wins it outright if he beats Georgia. You have to give it to him.
Yeah,
he's good.
I agree. It's fun to watch that kid play football, and when he had that performance against Alabama and Tennessee, pulled off we got to call it an upset, but on paper, they're the better team. They should be considered favorites to win the college football playoffs. Now, Anthony Richardson, our quarterback, you and me had talked about how he had big-time Tim Tebow potential.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a take that's aged well, but it's been a season of every week is one step forward, two steps back for Richardson, it seems like. And we have games where he'll throw for not even throw for 100 yards. But then in the Tennessee game, he threw for 400.
Yeah. I still think he has potential, man. I still think he has potential. I think a lot of it's mental. I think once he figures out mentally what it takes to be the quarterback, the leader.
He's got a mental block.
Yeah.
I feel like right now he is broken, and the coaching staff needs to figure out how to fix him, per se. Because the problem seems to be this. He's a dual threat quarterback. His biggest threat is in the run game, or at least it was. Now, last season, through the first 3-4 weeks of the season, he was our leading rusher, and he was only running the ball 6-7 times coming in for Emory when Mullen was flip-flopping quarterbacks. And he was our leading rusher doing that because he would average like 10 yards a pop. Because he can pick you up a first down anytime he leaves the pocket. But he got hurt. He came back from the injury. It seemed like getting hurt again was on his mind. And also the idea that, the backup quarterback, Jack Miller, he was injured. So we've only got two quarterbacks. It's him and it's Kitna. So if he were to get hurt again, then we would only have one QB. We wouldn't have a backup. We wouldn't have anyone behind him. So I think that was in his mind. Like, I got to stay healthy. It's like, what's really more important right now? Staying healthy or, picking up this first down here? And it just seems like on every play, he's back there. He's second-guessing himself. And you can see it. You can see him second-guessing himself in real time, trying to decide, throw it, run it. Too late, I'm taking a sack.
He's thinking instead of responding. And it's funny,
he's overthinking.
He's overthinking.
And then when he does throw it, and this is what kills me, and he was doing this last year too. He's been doing this. His touch on the ball needs work, and he's got to stop throwing bullets. Like, if you're throwing a bubble screen, you don't need a fastball. You don't need to be throwing a bullet. You don't need to chuck that thing as hard as you can. It's a bubble screen. Your receiver is right over there. He's behind the line of scrimmage. Probably lined up perfectly with you.
Yeah.
You're not throwing it downfield. You don't need to get that much power under it. You don't need to get it over the defense. You're bubble screen, you're just playing catch in the yard. That's what you're doing. And I've seen him on these bubble screens just.
He's zinging it, yeah. So
if I'm the receiver, like I probably have a hard time keeping my eyes on the ball at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he has a lot to work on. I think a lot of it's mental. I think once he works through those mental things that he's struggling with, I think he'll be fine. It just sucks that we're seeing the growing pains in real time. We're seeing them every Saturday. But he has things to work on, and I think he will. I think at some point he'll get it together. If not, then he's a bust. And I'm not ready to say that. I think he's capable of being great still.
He's capable of being every bit as good as Hendon Hooker has been.
100%. And he has more.
Hendon Hooker
has more skills than him. He has more like physical attributes that jump off the paper than him.
They have similar play styles. Hooker is an older quarterback than Richardson. He played at Virginia Tech for 2 years before transferring to Tennessee. This is his second year at Tennessee. He's been around. He's been doing this for a while. He's got it figured out. He is confident in his capabilities. He knows what he's doing. Richardson needs to get to that point.
Once he gets to that point, then we have a whole different ball game. I'm scared. I'm scared for every other team whenever Anthony Richardson knows what he's capable of. So I'm patient. I'm not worried about it. Yes, we can critique him. We can look at what he's doing wrong. But in the grand scheme of things, I think he's going to be all right. So I'm fine. I'm okay.
Yep. Now, also, Coach Prime Time has been a blessing to football. He really has been.
He has.
I got to ask you something. Do you think that the other SWAC coaches are just jealous of Deion Sanders?
100%.
You know the incident that took place a couple weeks ago with what was it, Alabama A&M?
Alabama State.
Alabama State?
Yeah, I think it's Alabama State. I may be wrong.
Alabama State or Alabama A&M? I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to remember that there's more than 2 college football teams in Alabama.
Yeah. Yes.
And their head coach, Eddie Robinson, had some choice words for Deion Sanders, and Deion Sanders is never lacking for a rebuttal.
Nope.
And the line that gets me is Eddie Robinson saying that Deion Sanders wasn't SWAC. And Deion sat there, who is SWAC if I'm not SWAC? I got time today. Who is SWAC if I'm not SWAC? Well, he's got a point. I mean, Deion, and to Deion's credit, we wouldn't even be talking about SWAC if it wasn't for Deion.
Yeah.
How many times you hear about the SWAC? Which, okay, I'm trying to remember what it stands for. Southwest American Conference.
Athletic Conference.
Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be getting any airtime on ESPN if Deion Sanders wasn't a coach.
No, they wouldn't. And, his players are going to be recruited now because if they played well against JSU, they may get looked at. So
these coaches, especially Eddie Robinson, you're just jealous that you've been grinding in this arena for a while. Like, this is probably your life's work here. And Deion just walks in with his built-in fanfare and star power, and all of a sudden people care. Like, it's easy to be resentful, but
yeah,
you can't go making a fool of yourself in the media.
I don't think, and I don't. If he beat JSU, then I don't think he would be mad. I think he would be on the other side, sticking it to Deion. So it is what it is. And
they had a lot of things to say.
Yeah,
a lot of things they were nitpicking, and it's funny because each thing that Eddie Robinson had to say about Deion, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, I didn't like that. Everything Eddie Robinson had to complain about, Deion had a reason. Eddie Robinson said he didn't meet me in the middle of the field before the game. Deion said we were running late. I thought we were just trying to get the game started. Fair point. He did a lap around the field.
He does a lap. He does a lap at every game.
I think that was unnecessary. He's done that before. That's a pregame ritual of his. He's done that ever since he was playing. And then it was he was still throwing. They were still trying to run up the score, throwing the ball with 30 seconds left in the game. This is what Deion said. Like, you think I'm trying to run up the score? 30 seconds left in the game. You're still rushing 8 men. Well, I'm supposed to run my running back up the middle and let my kid get killed because you're rushing 8 guys? Of course I'm going to throw the ball. I'm not going to serve my player up to you on a silver platter. Hey, here you go. Just run right into that brick wall. Yeah. Well, I know it's going to hurt, but sportsmanship.
Nah, he had good points. And this thing, he doesn't need to apologize for anything. He's doing what he's got to do. He's building the SWAC conference. He's bringing us to HBCUs. There's nothing that he has to say. He doesn't need to apologize to anybody.
His quarterback's getting talked about for the Heisman candidacy anyway.
Who?
Deion's quarterback, his son.
Oh, Shador, his son?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He's getting mentioned in Heisman polls, and here's the thing: I didn't see Deion's son in any of the Heisman polls until I saw Deion come on the Rich Eisen show and say, "Well, why is my son not getting looked at? He's just as good as any of the guys that are getting votes."
Wow.
And I think like a week later, I saw him as like the maybe 10th name in the Heisman race. Like, Deion's words have power.
Oh, they do.
When was the last time we saw a player from, a HBCU school in the Heisman run?
Yeah, no, none. And I think it's funny because people are like, well, he's doing that for his son. Nah, he's doing that for HBCUs and for the SWAC and for the MEAC because
it happens.
Now it's not crazy. Yeah, now it's not crazy to have a guy from HBCU to be in that list because now his son that's already happened. He's in the top 10 now. So he's making splashes for the future. People can say what they want. Deion knows what he's doing, and Deion is doing a really good job of bringing eyes to where they need to be. So I'm completely happy with Deion. He needs to continue doing what he's doing. He does not need to apologize to anybody about anything he's doing at all.
I wish more coaches would try Deion. I love seeing Deion get fired. Who is sweat if I'm not sweating? I just love that he said, "I got time today. I got time." But no, honestly, I can only think of like one other. This may not be the most recent, but I can only think of one other player in like the last. Well, this wasn't even the last 20 years, longer than that. But Steve McNair at Alcorn State.
Yeah,
he finished. He placed in the Heisman voting.
Wow.
He didn't win, but he placed. I don't know if it was second, third, fourth. It was one of those, and that was playing for Alcorn State, and that was in the 90s.
That's a long time. That's a long time. That's a long time.
I can't think of a more recent, HBCU SWAC player that has ranked that high. Most recently, but
I can't either.
But get on him. Once again, Deion does exactly what he said he was going to do. He shines that light on, this little untapped reservoir of talent. So everybody wins.
Everybody wins, and I love it.
Everybody except Eddie Robinson.
Oh God. He'll
I'm
think
sorry,
he'll think Deion
like
later.
such a clown.
He'll thank Deion later because he may have a player in the next 2-3 years who's a star, and it's because Deion opened the door that his running back or wide receiver or quarterback or cornerback gets an opportunity to get shouted out and actually get drafted. So he'll thank Deion later. They'll be able to have that conversation in the future. So
yeah, but
it's all good.
All right. So on to the main point of this video. The Hall of Fame has opened its doors to 8 new members for the class of 2022. And you and I both happened to be there for the enshrinement ceremony.
Yep.
Oddly enough, for these 2 Florida boys, we would meet in person in Canton, Ohio, of all places.
Of all places, when we live only an hour and a half away from each other. We meet 13 hours away. You driving and 4 or 5 hours away on the flight. 4 hours away. No, not 4. Like 2 hours away on the flight.
Me and my dad drove from Jacksonville, Florida to Canton, Ohio. Oh, man. I was there because Tony Boselli became the first Jacksonville Jaguar ever to be inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And
by the way, I loved his speech.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love Richard Seymour's speech. Obviously, I love Bryant Young's speech. But those 3 speeches, like, amazing. All of them were amazing, but those are my favorites.
You didn't hear Dick Vermeil's speech.
No, I didn't hear his speech.
Oh man, you could tell why they saved him for last because you couldn't shut him up. So we can't have him go first or in the middle. He's gonna talk until the sun goes down. So we'll save him for last, so he doesn't run into anybody's time. But Dick Vermeil is just such a sweet guy. He was thanking everybody. I'm pretty sure he thanked ball boys. So I want to thank this coach and that coach. And I want to thank the personal trainer for this team. I want to thank
that dude. He's been around the block.
Yep.
He's been around the block.
Yep. Now, Boselli went in, and I don't know if you've seen this, but 1010XL they did a podcast thing. It's a series of episodes called The Book of Bo, where Tony Boselli is just like telling his life story and talking about his career and everything. I think it's like 5 episodes, The Book of Bo. And I listened to all of them before we went to Canton, and I played them in the car for my dad so he could hear them. And it's just a great story, especially him talking about how his wife didn't think he was good at football because when they met in college, I think she was like one of the cheerleaders. And she went to one of the games, and Boselli happened to be sitting out because he was injured. But he didn't have a cast or anything. So if you just looked at him, you wouldn't think he's hurt. You'd think exactly what she thought. He's an extra that didn't get to dress today. So she thought he was like last on the depth chart, wasn't good because he wasn't in uniform for the game. And then like when he was trying to get her to go somewhere, she was like, "Don't you guys have a curfew?" He's like, "I don't." She's like, "Oh, that means he's not playing." And then he got invited to this Walter Camp thing, and she thought that, oh, Walter Camp, that must be like some kind of training program where bad players go to get better. And so she was with her friends, and they were like, "How does it feel to be dating the big man on campus?" It's like, "What are you talking about? Quit kidding." And they kept trying to tell her, "Nah, he's great." It's like, you guys are being such jerks right now. Look, I know he's not that good, but he's a really nice guy and this and that. They're like, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Do you actually think that he's bad at football? Well, he doesn't play in the games, and he went to this Walter Camp thing. Walter Camp? That's a big honor. It's like, you are all messing with me. And they drove her to like some convenience store, pulled up a newspaper, and he's on the cover of the newspaper. She's like, "Oh my god!" Because you couldn't Google things yet at this point.
Yeah. She
So,
wouldn't know, yeah.
so she had no way of knowing. So they literally, it's like, they couldn't pull their phones out. Like, no, look, see, it's like, get in the car. Where are we going? We're gonna go get a newspaper. Why? You'll see. Look, that's him on the cover of the paper. Or it wasn't a newspaper, it was a magazine. The Pack magazine. He was like the conference player of the year. And she thought, I thought he was like a bench warmer. That was a funny story.
That's hilarious.
I was dying laughing first time I heard that. But so I wanted to see Boselli get inducted, and you were there because you have a personal relationship with one of the other inductees, Bryant Young.
Yep. Yeah. Bryant Young was my defensive line coach at the University of Florida. I was only a D lineman for I think like 6 months, and he coached me personally.
Must have made an impression on him because he invited you to his enshrinement ceremony.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Even as a player, my wife. Actually, I think the reason why I got closer with him was because of my wife. My wife got really close with his wife, Kristen, and from there on, we got invited to their house all the time, and we got to know them personally, and have a personal relationship with not just them but their family, and they just mentored us, and my wife and I always knew we were going to get married, so we just watched their marriage, we asked them questions, we loved them, and yeah, man, they're great people, man.
You looked at it like this is the blueprint.
Yeah, man, they're definitely, we model a lot of the ways that we are today in our marriage because of what we saw in them, and they're great people. And yeah, so I wouldn't say that my relationship with Bryant Young is because of anything I did on the field. It's all off the field, personal relationship that allowed me to. Because there's other dudes. He coached Dante Fowler. He coached. Fowler
ended up being
Taven. What's his name? Taven Bryan. He coached.
Taven, both drafted by the Jaguars.
Sharif Floyd. He coached Sharif Floyd and Dominic Easley, and
all first round draft picks right there.
All first round draft picks. Jonathan Bullard. Man, come on. Laurenti McCray. Like, he coached some really good people. So all of them alone should have been invited, but no, my reason why I was invited is because of personal relationship outside of football. So yeah, man, love those people. Love Bryant. Great man.
Bryant Young was born in Chicago Heights, Illinois in 1972, and he attended college at Notre Dame. And he ended up being the 7th overall draft pick in 1994, drafted by San Francisco 49ers. And he had a great playing career. I mean, but before that, he was drafted in 94, 7th overall. You know who else was drafted in 94, man?
Who?
Marshall Faulk, Kevin Maui, Larry Allen, and Isaac Bruce. That's 4 other Hall of Famers. That's a loaded class. That's a Hall of Fame defensive tackle, running back, offensive line, 2 offensive line, and a receiver. That's a loaded class right there. but he played for the Niners from 94 to 07. He recorded 89 and a half sacks, which ranks 6th all time among defensive tackles. That's impressive to have that many sacks as a DT, because
that's very impressive.
Most of the guys getting the sacks are the ones that are coming off the edge.
Yes,
they have less bodies to fight through. Defensive tackle, you're right smack dab in the middle.
You're getting double teamed.
Right. You're not getting around anybody. You got to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So to record 89 and a half sacks, it's very impressive. Very impressive.
Very impressive.
Of course, that's why he's in the Hall of Fame now, isn't it?
Yeah. So let me share this. So
Yeah.
give people context on who he is. So at Florida, during the offseason, coaches, they coach. During winter conditioning, during summer conditioning, they coach. They're telling us what to do.
I would hope so.
Of course. Coach Bryant is participating with the team.
Oh, man.
He's running conditioning sprints.
So he was like Dan. He was like Dan Campbell.
Who's that?
The Detroit Lions head coach.
Oh, he works out with the team?
You watch Hard Knocks?
No, I haven't watched Hard Knocks.
He told the team we're going to do like 50 up downs, and he was right there with them, just jumping out, push up on his feet, push up on his feet, all 50 times with all the players with a sprained wrist.
Yeah, he's wild. He's wild.
It's like, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. We can see that
clearly.
Right?
Yeah,
same way.
So what's the thing? Like he would dominate. He was father of kids. He's a husband. He's a coach, and he's in just as good a shape as we are. That was unnerving to know that you're
retired. He retired in 2007, so he wasn't that far removed from his playing days.
He wasn't, but man, it just meant that he was still on it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, people have to understand the kind of work that you put in during the offseason. Like, college football players don't take breaks. So after the season's over in December or January, depending on how far you go, if you're playing a bowl or not,
we take for the next season.
We take 2 weeks off or a week and a half off, and then we get back to it, and we go right into training, and we train from January till August, and then we go to practice. So it's grueling, and for Coach Young to be doing that with us, knowing how our body feels and knowing how his body felt. He had a serious lower leg injury that almost ended his career, and for him to come back after his career and do that was like, okay, he's crazy. It showed us all why he was as great as he was.
So he was getting in the trenches. And were you guys weren't in pads, right?
No. We were just lifting weights, running sprints. But you have to understand, we don't like college conditioning isn't normal. Like, it's not normal, a normal hit workout that you would do for 15 minutes. It's not a light job.
This is getting your body in shape for 60 minutes of regulation, which translates to like 4 hours of physical activity.
It is
at the highest level.
Yes, it's some of the most grueling training you would ever do. It doesn't, like, you don't do that after you're done playing football. You're not supposed to. You have to be cleared by a doctor to train that way. You just can't just do that for fun.
All right.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
The Tennessee Titans head coach, Mike Vrabel, he was a linebacker. He was he would get down and do blocking drills with his players while they were in pads, and he wasn't.
He's crazy. See, he's crazy. See, like, you have to be different, and that's Mike Vrabel was an incredible linebacker.
So Vrabel, Campbell, and Young seem to be cut from the same cloth.
They're cut from the same cloth. So yeah, that's it. Just gives you a inside look of the kind of man this dude was, and he he's dominating. He's not like at the back of he's at the front. Like he's making it look easy. And he's a big man. He's a big man. Like
Oh
he's
yeah,
not.
there's a defensive tackle. They're not small.
Yeah.
John Randall was on the smaller side for a DT, but defensive tackles are not small.
He's
John
not supposed
Randall
to
is probably the smallest DT I can think of, and he was still a massive man.
Coach Young should not have been able to do what he was doing, and he made it look easy. That's the funny part about it. So yeah, like incredible, man.
Like, come on, young blood, if I can do this, you can do this. How are you doing this?
Basically, it was enough motivation for us to be like, yeah, if he's out here running with us, we can do it. We can do this.
Fair point.
So
Dig deep. Now you said that when the season's over, you got 2 weeks off and then back at it. I was watching New Heights. I don't know if you've seen New Heights. It's Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey, the two brothers.
Yeah.
They do a show together. And Travis was talking about a story from him in college. He went to Cincinnati, and he said the same thing. Well, as a college football player, we only have like our off season's 2 weeks long. Is it always 2 weeks?
So the 4-8 season, when we didn't go to a bowl, we had a month off. We had legitimately a month off, but that was the most embarrassing.
You don't want that month off.
Gloomy. It was gloomy. It was bad. It was bad.
So if you've got bowl game, then you're preparing for the bowl game. You played a bowl game. Then when the bowl game's over, then it's like, okay, well, now we got 2 weeks.
We had 2 weeks,
and then we're all hitting the gym again.
But if you win a bowl game,
if you're not playing in a bowl game, then congratulations, you get an actual summer.
Get a winter.
That's right.
And it sucks because you're like, everybody else is practicing, everybody else is training, everybody else is like getting better. Those 4 weeks are very important because that's when the younger guys get to get reps. The younger guys, it's like another camp where you're honing your skills, you're improving. You've had a whole season of practice to now you can like get a chance to actually play in the bowl game if you're good. Like it's like a second win to kind of get better again, and we missed out on that. So it's not good to be off for a month.
Yeah. But back to Bryant Young though, he was voted to. Sorry, tangents are kind of my thing. I have a hard time staying focused on one thing. My mind starts going this thing and that thing.
You're good. You're good. This is your show.
Yeah. It's one reason why I started doing shows with my brother. He's like, when he's been co-hosting the weekly show with me, and it's been great. It wasn't the plan from the get-go, but I'm glad it ended up being that way because I love my brother and I love talking sports. I love talking sports with my brother. It's like the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Sit here, camera on, and me and my brother talk football. It's great. Couldn't ask for anything better than that. He'll sit next to me and he has to just kick me with his knee underneath the desk. I'll be talking and he just starts nudging me with his knee, and that's my cue to moving on or back to this, whatever.
So you're practicing it.
That's him being like, okay, that's enough.
You're good. Hey, so you're practicing it. Move on to the next thing. That's good. Let's go. Move on. I like it.
And I did. That's not something we discussed. He just like started doing that on his own accord because he knows me. It's like, thank you, because I'm just gonna keep talking. But Young was voted to 4 Pro Bowls. He was voted to 1 All-Pro, and he did sustain that injury that you talked about. Was knee injury, I think.
That's a lower leg injury.
Lower leg injury.
Yeah, it was like his what do you call it? Tibia?
The tibia?
Tibia, I think, yeah. I think tibia, yeah, tibia.
That happened in 1998.
Well, yeah, it was all leg. It was tibia and femur. It was bad because they said they were considering amputating his leg. It was that bad. It was his whole leg. He had bone popping out and everything. I think it was bad.
And he bounced back from that, came back. He still played 8 seasons after that. That's one thing to put into perspective. You go from you might be losing your leg entirely to still playing 8 more seasons in the NFL.
Yeah.
And at this point, he'd had a few good years. He'd won a Super Bowl. He won Super Bowl 39 when the Niners just decimated the Chargers. So he had a Super Bowl ring. He had a few good years under his belt. To sustain an injury like that, that's something where you could probably walk away and you still have that what could have been, but at the same time, you're not completely unfulfilled.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But he didn't want half a career. He didn't want just a little something to hang his hat on. He wanted it all. He wanted to come back and play a full career. And what he accomplished after the injury is incredible. He won the 1999 Comeback Player of the Year. He won the George Halas Award in 2000. It's the award that goes to the player, coach, or assistant that overcomes the most adversity to be successful. So he won that in 2000. He was a member of the All-90s team. And he had a great career. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that wouldn't have happened if he had said, okay, I think this is the end of the line for me, which he almost did. But he had some strong motivation to keep going, one of which being his son that he spoke about. And when Bryant Young spoke about his son during his enshrinement speech, hard to imagine there was a dry eye in Canton during that.
I think everybody cried.
Yeah. I know, me personally, I don't really get emotional like that, but when I listen to Bryant Young talk about his son, I was sitting there like, old, this is a joyous occasion.
Yeah. And especially for me being a dad of 2 girls. I know I don't have a son, but I couldn't imagine my daughters going through that. I couldn't imagine that. So, and to know Colby personally, like I know him, like I knew him, and to see him as such a sweet young man, young boy.
And what was his ailment again?
He had brain cancer.
Yeah.
To see him deteriorate, to see him as like a happy, fun-loving kid, and then him not be here anymore, and go to his funeral, and to be with his family and see them grieve after, and like live life after.
I could imagine. I don't want to imagine it.
Yeah. I can't.
But I like what Bryant Young said. He said Colby didn't necessarily fear death as much as he feared the process.
Yes.
So that's a lot of mental fortitude for a boy how old was he?
I think he was like 12 or 13. I don't want to lie. I forgot how old he was. He's like 12 or 13 years old.
He was young.
He's very young.
Oh, a lot of mental fortitude for someone that young. And
he both of his parents, they're very nice people, but they're very tough people. So
he loves, and that was
they have that.
Yeah, that was part of the motivation that Bryant had to keep going, was for his family and for his own, chasing his own dreams, and keep going for Kobe. Now, Bryant said that it was fitting that I would be inducted in the class of 2022. 22 was Kobe's favorite number. That's just one of those things that, do you believe that we receive signs from people that have moved on?
Do I believe that we've received signs from people that have moved on, passed on?
Because that seems like,
Yeah, I think I've shared this before on the first one we had. Like, I believe in God. I believe God does stuff like that. I think he gives people closure, and he allows people to have things to hold on to, be like, no, God, you're in this. So 100%, I think so.
because
100%.
Brian Young was eligible for a long time before he finally got in.
Yeah,
So to get
yeah.
in the class of 22 and to say that 22 was your son's favorite number, I may not necessarily be a sign, but it's fitting.
I think it's a sign. I think it's closure. I think it's like, no, you waited for this. You waited for this moment. It means more that it was your son's favorite number. You'll never forget it. It'll always
One,
be connected.
one of those things in the universe that just lines up just right. I couldn't believe that when he said that. That stuck with me for quite a few days after he said that. Like, what are the chances? So, congratulations to Bryant Young. And after he retired, he went into coaching. He was a D-line coach at San Jose State in 2010. And then from 2011 to 2016, D-line coach at Florida.
Yep.
And then he was the D-line coach for the Atlanta Falcons for 2 years, and then he resigned from coaching. He had his fill. Week 13 of the 1998 season is when Young broke his leg on Monday Night Football. And he had 70 tackles and 11 sacks in 1999 when he came back.
Whew.
So it's not just comeback player of the year because you almost had your leg amputated. No, you almost had your leg amputated. Then you came back and dominated.
Dominated for 8 more years.
11 and a half sacks, defensive tackle coming off of a full leg injury like that. You gotta be built different. You gotta be built some kind of way. But the Hall of Fame ceremony, you had very good seats to that.
Yeah, man.
You're down there on the floor.
It was humbling. It was humbling to see Steve Mariucci, to see Terrell Owens, like literally 4 feet away from you.
Yeah, what was that like, sitting there, being that close to all these legends, and then to see, your former coach go up there, your friend and coach, and the man that invited you, have his moment in the sun.
It was unreal. It was unreal. I never thought I'd ever have an opportunity to see anybody that I've looked up to my whole life in football, and to see my friend and coach be up there, it was surreal. Like, why would he invite me? Like, I know we were close, but man,
And what did I do to deserve this kind of thing?
Yeah,
and then it doesn't end there. You got invited to the after party.
Yes, I sure did, and
Tell us about the Hall of Fame after party.
Oh man, amazing food.
I think there was a music group there that you were excited to see.
Amazing food. Boys to Men was there. If you're a Boys to Men fan, amazing. My wife got a flower for one of the dudes from Boys to Men. She loved it. The flower died, the rose died, but man, it was awesome. It was tons of fun. It was incredible. I got to see Terrell Owens up and close. I got to see Edgerrin James. Got to see Steve Mariucci. I got to see, man, a whole bunch of people that I've grown up seeing my whole life. And
I'm Mooch. We've seen him on TV after his coaching days were over. He went into Sportscat. He was an analyst for a long time.
Steve Mariucci?
Yeah.
He still is. He's a I forgot who he works for now, but he was on the field with like a group of other analysts and stuff. He's still doing it. He's still doing analyst work for sure. But yeah, man, it was surreal, man. It was surreal to be around that.
Terrell Owens, he still looked like he's good for 1,000 yards.
Bro, that dude he looks like he hasn't aged one day at all. The dude is still ripped up out of his mind.
So the Hall of Fame, you actually didn't tour the actual hall, did you?
No, I did not.
Oh man, you missed out. I had been dreaming of touring the Pro Football Hall of Fame since I was a kid, and it was everything I thought it would be and more. It was an incredible experience. And there's just so much history there, so many exhibits, so much to see and do. Like I would have to go back every single day for a week just to read every plaque, every exhibit, every bit of material there, which I would gladly do. Now, one thing when I went in, there was a lady with a cart with a bunch of old school helmets and pads, leather helmets and stuff. And it was one of those things where you could try on the old equipment. And she was also like a historian too. She's asking people questions and talking about stuff. So when she held up the Rams helmet, she asked me, what was so special about the Rams helmet? It was the first helmet that ever had a logo on it. And her eyes kind of lit up like, yes. So I had a good conversation with her for a minute. And there was so much cool stuff there. They had a station where you could design a Super Bowl ring.
That's pretty neat.
That was cool.
That's neat.
Yeah. And naturally, I made a Jaguar Super Bowl ring.
Of course you did. Maybe one day. I think they could actually have a Super Bowl ring.
But it was just so cool. And I'm going through and I'm looking at everything. And I know a lot about football. I spent a good portion of my younger years researching and reading about the history of the sport. So a lot of the stuff I came across, 72 exhibit. That's when the Dolphins went undefeated, only undefeated team in NFL history. And this exhibit is this exhibit is that. This is when this happened. A lot of stuff I knew, but I came across a few things that I didn't even know. And for example, in 1955, Otto Graham became the first QB to win the Rae Hickok belt for the Pro Athlete of the Year, an award that lasted from 1950 to 1976. And that's something they need to bring back because that was more beautiful than any boxing championship belt or UFC championship, any kind of fighting championship. And that's what it looked like.
Were you allowed to take a picture of it?
Oh, yeah, I took pictures of everything.
I would love to see a picture of it.
Oh, yeah. I'll send you a picture of it right now. I just got to say, trophies and awards were just so much cooler back in the day, man. They don't make them like they used to. I just sent you a picture of it for Pro Athlete of the Year. It's got like a boxer doing the Rocky pose. It's cool. And then touchdowns in pro football actually used to be worth less than field goals.
Nah. Oh, that's pretty neat. Holy cow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wouldn't you love to see Patrick Mahomes or a Steph Curry holding up that thing?
That would be fire.
Bring bring that award back. But yeah,
So
touchdown.
so field goals were more than touchdowns?
Yep. A field goal was worth 5 points and a touchdown was worth 4. Now this was when pro football was first being established in the 1890s.
Oh yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So you gotta figure they're still dealing with a football that is essentially a basketball.
And it's probably harder to kick than it was to actually run a touchdown in.
Especially the way they used to kick, because they didn't. First of all, kicker wasn't a position in the early 1900s, especially 1890s. The kicker wasn't a position. Everybody played every position. Everybody was a running back, linebacker, or O-line, D-line. You didn't have DBs because there was no forward pass yet. So you were either a running back and a linebacker or O-line and D-line. There were no kickers. Most kickers were offensive linemen that could kick very far. And they didn't kick the same way either. Like nowadays, we see is like Justin Tucker with his beautiful soccer style kicking motion. Now, back in the day, they just run straight at the ball and kick it. It was straight on. They would straight on kick it. And there was some old footage I've seen of like old linemen that kept their arms out like this when they kicked it, and it just looks so weird. Why are you holding your arms like this as you're kicking the ball? It looks so weird.
So we can all say we're happy that football has evolved.
Oh, yeah. So, and then this was the one thing that like surprised me the most was in the 50s and 60s, the NFL actually played a few exhibition games against the CFL. I never knew that.
That needs to come back too.
I never knew that.
That needs to come back as well.
First of all, I didn't know the Canadian Football League was around in the 50s still.
I did not realize that either.
Canadian League is better. Like I knew the Canadian League was around in the 60s and 70s. I didn't know that they were around in the 50s. But yep.
I can see that being, but that's the thing. If you do that, then you have to share profit. And that's what the NFL does not want to do. The NFL doesn't want to share any profit with anybody.
No, especially when they would be the more profitable part of this.
It would be helping the CFL out.
But Canadian football has different rules, though.
They do. They would have to agree on.
The Canadian football field is bigger, and they play 3 downs instead of 4.
They would have to agree on neutral rules.
Yep. But yeah, there were like 6 or 7 games played between the NFL and the Canadian Football League. And on August 8th, 1961, the Buffalo Bills became the only NFL team to lose to a Canadian team.
That's why. See?
I think that's when it ended too. I think that was like the last one.
Because I could see how that would make the CFL look way better than us.
The Hamilton Tiger Cats won 38-21.
Yeah. I can see how that could end the relationship.
I'm curious to know what rules they were using.
I'm curious as well. I'm pretty sure there are neutral rules. I'm pretty sure there has to be. There's no way they were using straight up CFL rules as we know today. There's no way. They had to be similar. Or like where both of them were happy.
Yeah, but man, that blew my mind when I saw that. Like, not only did NFL teams play against Canadian teams. Now, again, this was only like 6-7 times we're talking about. but an NFL team actually lost.
That would be the reason why I wouldn't continue it. Because then your market share goes down. Oh, we need to be watching the Canadian Football League. We don't need to be watching the NFL. So they're like, nah, we're going to build our own brand. Smart. That makes sense.
I'd like to see that come back.
I would love to see that come back because I don't think any Canadian Football League with agreed upon rules that made everybody happy, I still don't think they would win against an NFL team in this day. NFL is the best league. They have the best players by far.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily a lot, but quite a few players in the Canadian League are guys that couldn't cut it in the NFL.
They're good, but they're not the best.
Some of them find their way over. I believe the Saints have a linebacker right now, Wynton McManus. He was a Canadian football player. He played in the CFL. He got a shot in the NFL. I think Winston Rose, cornerback, I think he was a CFL player. He got a shot in the NFL. And quite a few NFL players go to the CFL when they can't capitalize on their opportunities.
Yeah.
It's especially good for quarterbacks because the Canadian Football League is a pass-happy league. Like I said, there's 3 downs. So they don't run the ball as much. They got 3 downs, they're throwing it. So it's good for quarterbacks. Doug Flutie and Warren Moon are 2 NFL quarterbacks that
playing in the CFL.
Had great careers in the CFL. Jeff Garcia also had a very good CFL career. They've had a lot of recognizable names. I would like to see a CFL team and an NFL team play each other. Of course, knowing Goodell, it would never happen. And if it did, he's sending the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So you got to send somebody to defend the honor of our league.
You have to NFL will only do that if they know they're going to crush them because the NFL does not want their brand to lose money.
The NFL won't even have its own All-Star game anymore. The Pro Bowl is disbanded. Oh yeah, you heard that yet?
No.
They're not doing the Pro Bowl anymore.
Bro, what's going on?
They're gonna replace it with some bland skills challenge.
Oh,
like
the days of Sean Taylor knocking the punter's head off are now completely over.
Okay, does anybody even remember the punter's name? Like he's just known as the punter
Mormon.
that got killed by
I know
Sean
his last
Taylor.
name. I don't know his first name. Mormon. Moorman.
Oh. He was actually really good at running fakes.
That's why they ran a fake, and then he regretted it. He got hit by the hardest hitting safety probably to ever play football.
But you know what? I wonder what hurts a little less. You running a fake, trying to show off your athleticism, and then oh god, there's Sean Taylor.
In a blur. Not by the way.
What about what Antonio Brown did to Spencer Lanning? Remember that when Antonio Brown was returning a punt and he
kicked him in the head?
The punter tried to tackle him, and Brown went to hurdle, but did it a little too quick and ended up kicking him in the face.
Yeah.
Which one do you think's worse? In both cases, you're trying
getting kicked in the face is a little more dangerous.
You're trying to make a play. You're trying to show off your athleticism, like you're not just like you're good for more than just kicking. You're a football player, and then you have the best receiver in the league just step on your face.
Yeah, I think it's a little more dangerous. I think I think the hit by Sean Taylor, I think it hurt for sure. It hurt, but I think
I don't think it hurt the pride as much as the kick.
no. I think it was like he got hit hard, but
hey, I can be kicked in the face by a diva receiver or take a hit from the most respected hitter.
I think the punter was more honored than the punter that got kicked in the face. Got stepped on.
You know what? Just go ahead and hit me.
I bet he got up smiling.
Oh man.
But yeah.
Kickers and punters don't have it easy, man.
Yeah.
Pat, I like hearing Pat McAfee talk about kickers and punters.
He was a punter, right? He was a kicker, right?
He actually did both. He was a punter in the NFL, but he was a kicker in college.
He went to West Virginia, right?
West Virginia.
He played with Steve Slaton and Pat White.
Yes, he did.
The only reason why I know that is because other than the Gators, though
that was a fun team to keep your eye on.
That was that time. Other than the Gators.
They're not our team, but when Florida's not playing, this team's fun to watch.
So yeah, Steve Slaton and Pat White were my favorite duo, quarterback running back duo in the nation, by far. They were fun and they were good at what they did. They were good at what they did. They're effective.
That is historically one of the best offenses.
And they had Owen Schmidt, the fullback, who was destroying people.
Oh man,
great times.
But yeah, McAfee was the kicker on that West Virginia team.
I remember that.
And then the Colts signed him as a punter. And I think when he tells a story, I think it's like he didn't even know his dad just came up to him, like, "Hey, you know how to punt?" Not really. Well, you better figure it out. The Colts want you as a punter. Well, it's time to figure out this punting motion then. I think it went something like that, but he kicked in college, punted in the league. He talked about once he was asked, could a kicker or punter ever do both, pull double duty? And it's why it's fun having a special teams player like McAfee in this kind of position where he can talk about an aspect of the game that doesn't get a whole lot of recognition, and we don't know a whole lot about it, and we have someone here that can shed some light on things like that. Because I often wonder, because that's something I do on Madden a lot, is on Madden sometimes, I don't know if you've ever done this, you just make a kicker, give them 99 kick power, 99 kick accuracy, and have him do the field goals and the punts.
I've never done that, but it makes sense.
I played Madden for a long time, so I've tried a lot of different. There's a lot of stuff I did for fun, a lot of things I did to test out. That's one of the things I did.
I for sure.
I would have liked to save a roster spot by doing that, but it makes you keep one kicker and one punter anyway. So I was like, okay, well, this experiment is null and void, but I already did it. So
I always created a Mike Vick quarterback who could do it all.
Oh, I needed that, but
I always did that. I always got that guy.
My quarterback's rushing for 1,000 yards every season.
Yep, that's how it was. I was that guy.
But McAfee was talking about one guy actually cannot do double time kicker and punter for a full season. It can't happen. Yeah, and he said the reason why is because the two kicking motions are so different that it would just do a number on your leg to do double duty for a whole season.
I agree.
He explained that's why it would not work. It's like I've been a kicker and a punter, but not at the same time. They were years apart. You couldn't do them both. The motions they're too different. it's too much of a toll on your leg. And there was a team that actually tried this. The Saints in the 70s, I believe, get this, they drafted a punter. He was either a kicker or a punter, I'm not sure. But they drafted him 11th overall. His name was Russell Erxelman. And their logic was, yes, we're drafting him 11th overall. Yes, he's a special teams player, but we're going to save a roster spot. Same thing I was trying to do in Madden. We're going to save a roster spot because he can be a kicker and a punter. And he was a terrible kicker. So I guess he was a punter, went 11th overall. They're like, we're going to save a roster spot by having him also kick the field goals, and he couldn't do it. And I don't know if it was just like he was not good at kicking field goals, or if it was what McAfee said, like the two different motions were just taking a toll on his leg, and he wasn't able to perform at that level. He was a decent. His numbers. He ended up being like a decent punter, and I think he kicked like less than 50% as a kicker.
Yeah, because you have to also put into account practice. You're kicking in practice too, so you're tying your leg out in practice. Yeah.
He made like less than 50% of his field goals. I'm pretty sure.
That's a bad.
Yeah, you're saving a roster spot, aren't you? Oh, look at the Saints, head of the game. So they thought.
The Aints. But yeah, man, it's been great talking about the Youngs. I do have a couple. I know we haven't. Just to go back to the Youngs before we end tonight. I do have a couple foundations that they support. They don't have a specific one that they support for, like they don't have one for Colby specifically. But
yeah, because I Googled that because I thought I'm pretty sure they probably have one for Colby. And I Googled it and I couldn't find one.
They did whenever it was called Colby Strong, and we have my wife and I have the shirts. We have it in our closets, but like we bought a shirt, and everybody bought a shirt to kind of go towards the foundations that they support. But since then they haven't like kept up a website. But these are the two foundations that they work with and still have people donate to. The first one is Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. And you can find that on curethekids.org, and I'll send these to you so you can post them up. And then the second one is Make-A-Wish Central and Western North Carolina, and the website for that is nc.wish.org.
We'll have these links in the description of the video.
Awesome. So yeah, those are two foundations that you can donate to continue to raise awareness, research, and support for brain cancer and other cancers as well.
I know. I try to timestamp all the videos in the description so that people can click on a certain time and it takes them to a certain topic. I try to do that in the description of all the videos. I don't know if anyone that is actually ever using that, but
like some people, man, you don't know.
I think so. But it's been great, man. It's been a good time. Vince talking to me. I wish we could do this more often, but obviously we both have busy work schedules.
Yeah. And whenever you have a burning like topic that you want to talk about, and it makes then let's do it. Like I have no problem doing it, but if it's meaningful to you and it's burning and it's something that's exciting, then let's do it. I have no problem talking.
Maybe we can get you over to the apartment one time. You can co-host an episode once.
Hey, we got to make it happen. We got to I got to plan in advance. I got to plan. I got to plan way in advance, but for sure that would be fun.
Terrell Owens. He still looked like he's good for 1,000 yards.
Bro, that dude he looks like he hasn't aged one day at all. The dude is still ripped up out of his mind.
I don't get it. Terrell Owens hasn't aged at all. It's like he's still playing football. He's not playing in the NFL anymore, but he's playing in the fan-controlled football league.
Did you know that he ran a 4.38 in the 40 at 50, almost 50 years old?
Yep. Incredible.
That's unreal. That's unreal.
Unreal. This man was a second-round draft pick out of Chattanooga.
Amazing.
I think Terrell Owens could be a solid number 2 option on any team in the league right now.
I do too, but I think he'll get hurt. I think he got hit hard. He got hit by Sean Taylor a bunch of times when he played for the Eagles and for the Cowboys. He would have get
Roy Williams had TO is one of the reasons that we have the horse collar rule now, because
remember that
I believe it was Roy Williams, came up behind him, tackled him by the horse collar, brought him down by the horse collar, and broke TO's leg.
Yeah, I remember that.
He had a broken ankle.
I remember
from the way he went down. And that's when they outlawed the horse collar tackle. And he still went out and had 10 catches and 100 yards in the Super Bowl.
I remember that. I do.
A broken ankle.
I remember that.
Like, if I had a broken ankle, I wouldn't be running, let alone playing in a football game. But it was the Super Bowl. He wasn't going to miss that. But 10 catches.
They probably shot him up with some really, really good stuff so he wouldn't feel it. And he probably felt
10 catches, 100 yards.
He probably got shot up with some good stuff. He probably didn't feel anything when he was running.
Oh, the doctors were trying to hold him back from getting on that field.
Oh, for sure. But they probably shot up his foot with some good, what do you call it? Cortisol or whatever you call it. But yeah, man, that dude Terrell is unreal. He's unreal. So I'm not surprised he's a NFL Hall of Famer. No shock to anybody that he is.
Yeah.
Really good guy. Really good football career. I don't know him as a person. But yeah.
As a person, he seems like a fun-loving dude.
He's like a fun guy.
I've seen him on a lot of shows. I've seen him on Cold as Balls with Kevin Hart. I've seen him on I Am Athlete. I've seen him on a bunch of different shows.
Yeah.
And he's just always having a good time. And just like he gets a bad rap sometimes for like being a distraction during his playing days, but he never really did anything malicious.
No, and he actually never did anything wrong. Just as T.O. He's larger than life. He's like primetime. He's like Deion. He has that personality where he's not going to do anything wrong, but how he carries himself rubs the normal person the wrong way. That's
but
really
it's like it was okay for Deion. He played defense, but T.O. was a receiver. There's just a double standard there.
Yeah. It's really, that's all it is.
Yeah.
He's a disruptor. So people see that as he's a cancer, but really he's just, everybody would say he's a good teammate.
Locker room cancer is one of the things that comes up a lot. He pulled a Sharpie out of his sock to autograph a football after a touchdown once. And then the NFL said, okay, no foreign objects in touchdown celebrations.
Yep.
Wasn't a rule until he did it. But
people said the same thing about Chad Johnson too, but everybody loved Chad Johnson, man. Everybody loved Chad Johnson.
Chad Johnson was another. I want to see Terrell Owens and Chad Johnson like do a show together.
That show would be incredible because they're very similar but very different. And man, I think it would be hilarious. I think it would be one of the funniest shows.
I would watch I Am Athlete a lot, and it's Brandon Marshall's podcast. But
yeah,
Chad Johnson was one of the guys that was doing it with them, and I loved it when. And then Fred Taylor and Channing Crowder were doing it with them too. That Fred Taylor and Channing Crowder left to start their own podcast. So when Fred Taylor left, I was watching because I liked Fred Taylor. And I like Brandon Marshall too. Just like he's not going to hold my attention the same way that the other guys are. Just like his style of doing things. And when Fred Taylor and them left, and then when Chad Johnson wasn't there anymore, I stopped watching I Am Athlete.
Yeah, I watched.
And that's no offense to Brandon Marshall or anything.
Yeah. I'm
like,
the same way. I watched.
I'm gonna go watch
the pivot.
Like these guys left and they're doing their own thing. Well, I'm gonna go watch that now, and there's just so many hours in the day.
Yeah. So I watched the pivot. That's like my number one. And if I see like a Reggie Bush did an I Am Athlete episode, I'm watching that. I want to hear from Reggie Bush. So like it depends on who's speaking, who's they're interviewing.
The guests.
That makes me go back to I Am Athlete. But for
you
sure,
ever watched the ManningCast?
No, I haven't watched that yet.
When Peyton and Eli like simulcast Monday Night Football. Oh man, it's great.
I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it. I've seen the only thing close to that is I've seen the Pat McAfee show like whenever like yesterday when they played
Alabama played on there a couple times.
Yeah, I've seen that. So I haven't seen the Mannings do their thing yet.
It's so great because for one, they're brothers, so you get the brotherly bickering and throughout the whole thing, and it's amusing. Like, oh man, if that had been you when we were younger, you'd gotten killed. You're slower than dirt. We're talking about I'm faster than you. You were never faster than me. Yes, I was. I was the fastest one of us. I think that was Cooper. Cooper's not real. He's just somebody that we made up.
Oh god.
I made that entire exchange up. None of that's
basically, but that's basically what how it is.
They're like, that's offensive line opened up a hole so big. Peyton, you could have walked through there. Like you could have, like your big head would have fit through that hole. That's not Eli makes a lot of big head comments, and it's great. It's great. And Peyton has such a great mind for the game. Like we all know Peyton Manning's knowledge of football. He has football down to a science. So listening to him break down the plays and what's going on, it is very insightful. And then Eli pitches in and you realize, oh yeah, Eli is Peyton's brother. He knows what he's talking about too. You kind of forget it because Eli never really talked much.
Yeah.
I want to say he never talked as much as Peyton did. But seeing them do the show together, it's like, oh, well, Eli is incredibly smart too.
You don't become the quarterback for the Giants and win a Super Bowl against the greatest team almost ever, the Patriots, and not be smart. You have to be pretty smart and pretty gifted.
You know what's so funny about that though? Eli Manning's playoff record is so bizarre because like every year that the Giants win their first playoff game, they would go on to win the Super Bowl. If you look at Eli's playoff record year by year, it's 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 3-0 Super Bowl run, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 3-0. So you were either getting bounced out on day one or you were winning it all. And both Super Bowl wins are against the New England Patriots. And one of those Patriots teams
in dramatic fashion. In dramatic fashion.
And one of those teams was undefeated. And I like when Brady and Eli talk about it. And Brady's once asked Brady and Michael Strahan were once on this like Zoom call thing like this. It was like before one of the drafts during the COVID year. And Strahan and Brady were guests, and Strahan was asked, would you give up your 2007 Super Bowl for a number of Brady's rings? Because Brady's like, I'll trade you this many championships. You give me the undefeated season. And Strahan was like, I get to win how many Super Bowls? Oh, yeah, sure. And then when this got back to Eli was like, no, never. We never trade this for anything.
You know why Eli wouldn't? Because Eli, bro, imagine saying I beat the no, I wouldn't trade either because I'm saying I beat the best team twice, and I beat the best quarterback arguably in the whole world in the history of the NFL twice. So
evidently,
I'm
doesn't mean that much to Strahan, but maybe Strahan
didn't mean
that would mean
the world to me. That would mean the world to me to know that I beat the best player and arguably two of the best teams to ever play football.
I was like, I'm so glad this isn't up to Strahan because that is a very disappointing answer. What are you talking about? You would trade that undefeated season for 3 or 4 Super Bowls? No. Eli said never give this up for anything.
No, that's the greatest accomplishment. To say that you beat the best, it's like going up to Mike Tyson and having no chance of winning and beating him, like Buster Douglas did. That I would never trade that.
That Buster Douglas story was something else. Buster Douglas had been battling illness. He had lost his mother like a month before the fight. He fired his own dad as his trainer. And like he had no shot. They had to hold that fight overseas because American audiences just were not going to pay to see the fight. And it was a tune-up fight. Just keeping Mike Tyson in shape for the real contender. I think Evander Holyfield at that point was next. And Buster Douglas is just supposed to be a punching bag to keep Tyson in shape. And Douglas's mother didn't even want him to take the fight because she found out who Mike Tyson was and how vicious Mike Tyson is. It's like, you are not fighting him. No. Because she thought that Douglas would get killed. And Douglas had to convince her that he could win the fight because she wouldn't let him take the fight. Now, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't change whether or not he actually got the fight or not. But, it's easier going in knowing that your mom supported the decision. But he finally, before she tragically died before the fight, he had convinced her, look, don't worry about me. That's who you should be worried about. That MFer that I'm about to get in the ring with, that's who you should worry about. And he convinced her that he could win. And surprisingly, he did. And that was the best performance he had ever, his best performance ever in the ring. He never duplicated that. Because when he fought again as the champion, looks terrible.
Not to continue going on tangents, we're talking about tangents, but it just shows you how hard it is to be great, to be a Tom Brady, to be an Eli Manning, to be anybody that's been great for any period of time. It's really hard to sustain that because as humans, it's very easy for us to get complacent. It's very easy.
Oh yeah. Tangents done right. That's what the show should be called.